I am Diane Simmons from Cake Connection in Jackson, Michigan. And today we are going to make floral cupcakes with buttercream, okay? And I am going to be piping right on cupcakes today. So hopefully we'll give you some ideas, hints, suggestions, whatnot for some different looks to make some pretty flower cupcakes for Mother's Day this weekend. Before we get going, I want to hop down here and show you today's prize giveaway. These are all of our custom color cupcake liners that we've had made. And we do have several more colors coming. Okay, this was just our first run. And then we've got some of the tips that we're going to be using as well. Okay. So, I am going to hop over to the other side here, and then once I get situated, Eric's basically going to put you right over my shoulder again today since we're piping, and everyone seemed to like that a little bit better. All right, so I'll hop over there. Okay. I'll have Eric move up tight here and get you right over my shoulder. What better seating can you have there, right? Okay, so we just got a brand new product in, and I am going to try to work with this today. I will, just FYI, normally if I'm piping cupcakes, I like to use my flower nail so I can get it up in the air, work up here, okay? And when I do that, I use this great big one. I believe it's a 2.5 or 2 3/4 inch base on the top of it. But like I said, we're going to try the new product and see how it goes. If not, I've got the flower nail right here on backup and I'm ready to grab that if I have to. Okay? But these are from Sweet Sugar Bell. I believe, don't quote me on this, literally they just came in yesterday. I think they're $15.99 or something. I will have them on the website later today. All right, but they do have some little grippy pads on the bottom of them, kind of hold them still a little bit. Obviously, they intended them for cookies, but we don't care. We'll use cupcakes. And it's got a little non-skid pad here on the top too. So dual purpose if you're a cookier or a cupcaker. Fun new tool for you. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we are working with buttercream today, okay? I did make it just a little bit thicker than normal, not super thick. Hopefully you can see it's still fairly easy to stir, but when I put my milk in, I usually use a 1/2 cup. I didn't go to the top of my measuring cup, so I'd say I probably was like between a tablespoon, maybe tablespoon and a half short on my liquid compared to normal. Okay, so not super stiff, but I just made it just a tiny bit thicker than normal. Okay, and then I have most of my bags ready right now, but I don't remember if I showed you guys this before, so I'm going to show you again. Going to make a double bag system. So if you don't have a coupler, or if you're just doing something, if you're just getting started, not really sure what all you want to invest in, because these are, here I'll put them up against, so these are some of our standard size tips, okay, and these fit the normal standard couplers. These, however, are some of our larger tips, okay, and they do have couplers available for them. However, if it's not something you're going to be using all the time, it's one of those, maybe I want to invest, maybe I don't, but I'm going to show you how to get around that today if you don't want to invest, because it's not something you're going to be using a lot. Okay? So first things first, let's put some frosting down in our bag. And these are just some of our 18-inch disposable bags that we have. Okay, you do not have to use this large of a bag by any means. I just grabbed the big ones because I'm going to be working with the larger tips, so I know I'm going to go through more icing. But then you also will see how you can kind of set this up for production line and not have to keep refilling your bag 50 times. Okay. Now, yes, I could put more in there. I'm kind of burping it down. I don't know if you can hear some of the smooshes with it in there. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and snip the end off here. There. Okay, so I've got a fairly full bag there. All right. And if you have joined us before, you know my number one thing, you never, ever, ever are going to squeeze this whole bag down here from the end, okay? If you do that, you are so likely to cause wrist damage and hand damage, okay? Carpal tunnel being one of the main issues you can run into, okay? We do not want that. Stay healthy out there. So, again, we snip that off at the end, okay? And I'm probably going to snip that up just a little bit further. But then our other bag, and this is going to be my exterior bag, okay? So we're basically making a coupler with a second bag, okay? So we can drop our tip down in, and that actually does not go down. I know it doesn't show up super well on there. It doesn't go down that far. I want to snip that just a little bit more because I don't know if it's going to work with my other tips or not. I'm going to take like maybe another 1/4 inch or so off that. There. So now we've got it up, not quite halfway, like between 1/3 and halfway up the bag. Okay? But then you can take your bag with color, and as I mentioned, I'm going to cut that off just a little bit more. Squeeze the frosting out of there so I don't waste it. Alright, that's better. But then you can drop your bag right down in. Okay, so then we have that ready to roll. Alright, do a test squeeze. But if I want to change my tip, all I gotta do is pull the frosting out, change the tip, put the frosting back in, and we are ready to go. Okay, so there you have just a 2-bag coupler system. And that works on the smaller bags too. Alright. So, what do we want to start with first? Well, I think we'll go ahead and start with that. This is my biggest question mark of can I do this on a turntable. It's going to be my large rose. Okay. Oh. I'll show you because I know everyone always wonders about this. When I bake cupcakes, I take them out of the pan while they're still warm. You can see there's some condensation down here on my plastic. Okay, I want to keep the moisture in. All right, so the second I pull them out of the oven, and these actually, yes, they got a little overdone. We're rolling with it. Okay, but I take them out of the oven, put them right in the plastic, and cover them with, this is just a large plastic bag, but you'd cover them with saran wrap, whatever. You want to get those covered up immediately to trap that moisture in, okay? If you leave them sitting in the cupcake pan, they're going to keep cooking. That pan is metal, and these are so small, they're so easy to overbake, okay? So we really don't want to do that. All right, as I mentioned, this is my one that I'm really questioning if it's going to work. I'm going to get it out of the way first thing. So if it fails, we're just going to go forward and work with better options for the rest of it. Okay? I do have some pink in one of my smaller bags. I'm going to grab a tip 12 here just to make a little base. Whoa, I have a cracked ring on my coupler. We don't want that. Grab one of my other ones here. I don't think I've ever, in all my years of decorating, I don't believe I've ever had one of those crack. Okay, so I'm just going to pipe a little base here for the rose. With the base on these, you normally want them like anywhere from height and a half to two times the height. I'm pretty close to 2 times on here. Okay. Oh, I'm very worried this isn't going to work. Oh well. It is what it is. Here goes. So we're starting down low. And okay, it's a learning curve getting used to. We might get there. So we do our first wrap. And then I'm just doing an up and down motion, okay, as I'm squeezing. And I'm turning over here with my other hand. I'm just spinning the wheel, just like I would the flower nail, okay? And I came down a little bit. And we're going to keep doing the same thing. If you have ever done any of the old school Wilton stuff, you know that it says 3, 5, 7 for the number of petals per row, okay? Just pipe it till it looks good and you're happy with it, is more my theory, okay? If you get 3, 5, and 7, yay for you. If you get 3, 5, 6, you're happy with the look of it and it's full, roll with it, okay? I'm starting, I tipped out just a little bit. This is my 4th row, okay? And I didn't really mention with our giveaway, if you haven't watched us before and joined us with any of these, be sure to give us a shout out. Let us know you are here so we can get you entered. Okay? And I'm going to put one more row on here, and then we might put some leaves on. Let's see how it looks when I get this one on.
I had a question from earlier. So about how long do your cupcakes stay fresh in your bag covering system?
I always bake my cupcakes literally the night before a party. So even if I had an order for 300 cupcakes for a wedding or something, they got baked the night before. I would stay, Friday night, as soon as I closed the store, I would start baking cupcakes. So I'd have them in the oven, store closed at 6. Hopefully I'd have them in the oven by 7. I am a little bit fortunate. I have some commercial half-size oven back there, plus a regular oven. So it didn't take, honestly, like maybe 2 hours it took me to bake 300 cupcakes. Okay.
We need a tip number.
This tip, sorry, I forgot. I just realized that. I forgot to tell you the tip. We'll wipe her down and see. I believe it is a 124. Glasses, just a second. Sorry. My eyes went last year on my 28th birthday. Ah. Yes, this is a tip 124. Okay? So, there we have a rose. And this is a very, very full rose. Okay? You could have stopped a row too earlier and went in and added, I do have some green here. You could have went in and put just pipe some little leaves around there to fill in where you had gaps. Okay? And I will, when I get done, if you haven't been with us before, I do go back at the end of the day or the end of the show, and I will take pictures of everything. So there's nice still shot photos on there on the Facebook page for you to see what we did. Okay? All right.
Mom, someone needs your help.
Someone needs my help.
Sometimes
Biscuit.
their cupcake liners peel away from the cupcakes. What causes this and how do they fix the problem?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
A lot of variables.
Yes, there's so many variables. I have been fortunate. I honestly don't run into that very often. Like minimal. I'd say just a few times. I'm thinking it's probably just the liners that I was having issues with. But my other thing, I don't remember when I wasn't putting them, even if I didn't have these plastic, I would take some of my cool extra cupcake pans and I would drop them right back down in there. So and I truly believe this is the difference. If the cupcake is cooling down in a small groove, this is made to fit the cupcakes, no different than a cupcake pan. So if you like I said, if you don't have this, but the second that cupcake, while it's still warm, if you get it down in something its same size to cool down, I don't believe you're going to have the issues with it. Okay? Something I have seen and I've heard, a couple of my customers did this, said it works great, is to actually drop some rice in the bottom of your cupcake pan before you put your papers in, and that helps draw some of the moisture down to the rice and away from your cupcake papers. I have not personally tried that. I don't have any input on it one way or the other. But this has always worked well for me. I'm a firm believer in doing this. So like I said, I haven't had issues with it while I do this. Okay? So that would really be my biggest suggestion, is either get an extra cupcake pan that you can, because you don't want, my point of getting them out of the pan immediately is so they're off the heat. So you need a cool pan, if you want to set them down in that, and then just slide them in a plastic bag. But I really think cooling them in that shape so the papers can't peel away, I think that's the biggest thing for me. So there's that for what it's worth. Okay? Now, next one I'm going to show you. And this, in my mind, it's going to work amazing. Okay? Just bear that in mind. It might not, but in my mind, it's up there. It's going to look really cool. So I'm going to put a little mark over here, just with one of my bigger tips. Okay? So I just kind of lightly marked it, just so I've got a guide for where I'm going to. Okay? Now, this you can do. Actually, let me grab a piece of paper towel here and show you. Okay, so don't sit here and think I have to do everything she did verbatim. All right? You can always get different looks with your tips, turn them different ways. All right? So right now, I have skinny end down here, the fat end of the rose tip up here at the top. Okay? So if I just pull it in, you get that. Now if I turn it, now I've got the skinny end at the top. Hold that up. Okay, so you get two completely different looks depending on what you're doing. But again, play with your tips. Turn them different ways, do different things with them, okay? So I'm thinking I'm going to do, and when I say fat and skinny, so on all your rose tips, so like this is a tip 104 here in my hand. Okay, they've all got a skinny end, and then they all round off up there. The 124s tend to be a flatter up there. They're not as rounded. You can, if you want, you can take a metal tool of some sort, whether it's a plier, whatever. You can round that off a little bit if you want. You do you. Okay, so I'm going to do kind of like a half daisy look with the center over here. Okay, kind of think some of the pictures. I was just thinking about one of our like a canvas thing that we have at home has the flower off in the corner with a bunch of, you know, the petals coming off, and I like that look, so I thought, oh, that might look cool on the cupcakes, so we're gonna try it. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, so I want to start in the center of it, and I'm just squeezing harder and coming down towards, and I'm gonna kind of work back and forth. Oh, I'm doing bad with my thingy here. See, I'm so used to having my flower nail, having them up, but you guys can actually see it better, so I think I'm going to work with it in my hand here a little bit, and not so much on the flower nail. Okay. So there. And then, how do I want yellow? I think I'm going to put a green center in it. And I've got my grass tip here, which is just the 233, right? Where are we at? Yes, 233. I feel like I'm on a quiz show having to name all these tips. I do usually know, like on a serious note. I normally know what most of them are called. Okay, so we got a grass tip on there, and I'm just going to do a few of them side by side here, just to make that larger center that we need. Okay, so what do you guys think? Yay or nay off to the side like that? You feeling it? Not so much. I'm not sure if I like it or not. I don't know. Let's do another normal size one. I'm going to put my 104 on my smaller bag here of the pink. We'll have them side by side and you can compare. There we go. I'm so excited today because my son might not take my cupcakes on me. He like just steals all my stuff I make and takes it home. Someone asked the other day, Eric, do you get to sample this stuff? And he said, of course I do. Well, it was the day I'd made the fondant covered cake. The little toad literally took it home with him. Like, we got done on the air and he goes, oh, by the way, Mom, you didn't want that, right? And he's putting the box together. But today, I made almond cupcakes. He's not a super huge almond fan, so I might actually get some. All right, so again, I put my mark in there, and that's just so I know to stop. You don't have to mark the center. I just do that to know to stop. I don't want to bring my petals. If you bring everything completely into the center, you're going to have a big mound of icing in there, and this also keeps me on point so I don't end up with my center like way over here, for example, or, you know, something awkward looking. All right. So I'm going to do this one same way. I've got the big tip sticking out, and I'm just giving it a good firm squeeze. Okay. And basically, as my bottom hits that ring, I'm stopping my squeezing, okay? So I'm still going to have a lot of icing in the center, but nowhere near as much if I didn't have that mark in there to stop myself.
In going over the feedback from the last cupcake, someone asked if you had a yellow.
A yellow for the center?
Yep.
I sure do. I'll put a yellow center in this one.
And then, do you make your cupcakes from scratch?
I don't share my cake recipes. Reason for that, I will say I do some scratch. I do some very heavily doctored box mixes. The reason I don't share those recipes, I very strongly encourage everyone to experiment. Okay, I'm more than happy to give you suggestions for things to experiment with, but you find your niche in this world. All right, that's why we have McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. Everybody's got their own lane and their own flavor wheel. Okay, if everybody said, you know, if you had 3 people that gave out cake recipes and everybody copied them, how boring would that be? So I am more so for encouraging everybody to go out and experiment with it, okay? Do your time, do your thing, but just play around with it, okay? So this one, I'm doing the yellow. All right, so here we have, this was our big tip 124, and this was our tip 104. Okay, the big one, I just did that just to have it kind of like an off to the side view. So there you can see those side by side and compare, see what you think. Okay. All right. So, now I'm going to switch. I'm still going to use a rose tip. Oh, wait, I'm going to leave this big one on. Just want to show you this. All right, well, this one I think I can do on here for you. And if you notice, I do keep wiping off my tips just to keep the end clean. Okay? Alright. Yeah, I think I can move this enough to do it. Okay, so I have small end, pointed end out. Alright, so traditional way you would do your rose petal. Okay? But I'm just going out. I'm just kind of squeezing hard and coming. I'm going out and coming right back, just turning my wrist a little bit, but coming right back down the same line. Okay? And just piping some petals. But again, you kind of want to watch. I don't feel like you guys can really see that well. Is this better if I go up in the air?
You were doing just fine.
They were seeing it okay down there?
However you want to.
Okay. So, you can absolutely stop. Well, I got enough cupcakes made. I got plenty of other ones over there. So we can stop right here and just do a little center in there. Okay. Or we can go do same thing. I'll hold this one up in the air for you. And I'm just kind of, when I get out towards the edge, I'm giving it a little bit of an extra squeeze just to make it build up. Like this one, you know, kind of ruffled a little bit in there. So don't be afraid to give it a little, it doesn't have to have every petal exact. In fact, typically you don't want every petal exact. Okay? But then, clean that off. Okay, so there's our first row again. Then I'm going to lift the petal up a little bit. And let's go put a second row of petals on there. But you see I'm only going out about halfway the length of the first ones, okay? So we'll do the yellow in there again. So we've got these both the same color, same look, but you guys can see the difference with the 1 or the 2 rows. All right. So that's basically the same movement, just adding a second row versus 1 row right here. Okay?
Some people are asking if you could do a sunflower
If I could do a sunflower.
or a carnation.
Let's see. What do you think? Carnation, let's... I'm just trying to think if I want to start on the outside or the inside for a carnation.
And then what are you using for the center tip?
The center tip, so far on all these, I've done brass tips with both of them. Okay? Which is the tip 233. Alright, give me just a sec here. I gotta think through the carnation if I want to start. I think we're gonna start in the center. I have not done a carnation looking anything on a cupcake before, so bear with me if this looks funky. Okay. So carnation, you want to do a lot of ripples, all right, jig jags, and back and forth. And I got way off center there. Hopefully this ends up looking okay. Kind of need to hold that. No, just a sec. That's not okay. We're starting over. All right. So I'm just kind of building a little bit of a center in there. And like I said, I'm jiggling. I'm kind of doing more of a sideways jiggle than up and down, okay? I'm adding a little bit of up and down, but definitely more of a sideways jiggle, just to make it look like those little ripply edges that you get in a carnation, okay? And I'm still stopping, you know, same principle as you would do with a rose. I'm still stopping every so often and starting a new petal, okay? I don't know that I want to go that much bigger than that. Plus, I want to show you guys a leaf, adding some leaves on the edge of it too. So you don't feel like you have to fill these up completely with the flower, okay? This is a 350, sorry. This has, you can see that, okay? This has the V in it, okay? I personally, I'm a much bigger fan of these than, oh my gosh, I don't even remember. I think they're like 70, this is how much I don't use them. Like maybe 71, 72, somewhere in there. They just, you don't get a good clean finish off them. Okay? So I'm going to put some leaves in here.
What brand of tips do you recommend?
Whatever you can get your hands on. Okay? One thing kind of bear in mind, if you may have to go do a Google search or something and see what tips are comparable as far as numbers, okay? Some Atico numbers are different than Wilton numbers. Oops. See, I didn't bend my bag or twist my bag enough. Getting a mess there. So definitely go check and I have a lot of customers will call and say I need a tip, whatever, you know, they might say some random number and I'll just look at them and say, okay, what brand is it? Because I've not heard of that before. But then I can go online and look it up. Most of your supply stores, if you ask them, they'll look it up and they'll find the conversion for it to the brand that they carry. Okay? So that's a lot of green around it, but there you have carnation-ish look. Okay? Just the biggest thing to remember, and you can get a whole different look. That's a tip 104. You can use a tip, I believe it's 150, that is just straight. I don't have one out here. I'm not gonna do another one, but try some of your other tips if you're not happy with the look you're getting. You still want to do that side jiggle for a carnation, but a tip 150 is just a straight line. Okay? So you're not going to get the big blob of icing down at the bottom that you don't necessarily need for a carnation. Actually, I'm going to have Eric go grab one. Go grab me a tip 150. It's just a straight line. Because now I think we have to do one. If I have time. I'll watch the clock and see. Oh, we got to do some other colored flowers. I made purple and everything for you. Okay, so I'm going to do a different version of a daisy too. And this will kind of, if you watched when I did the piping for the sheet cake, this is a tip 32. Okay, and a lot of people really liked that flower I piped on, which had a lot of teeth on it. Thank you. This is a tip 150 that I was talking about if we don't get to it. This might be something I would recommend a little bit more for the carnation, just so you don't get a lot of icing buildup at the base, okay? So you've still got your thin top, you know, compared to your rose tip, but you don't have, it's not as wide down here at the bottom, all right? So, anyway, this is a tip 32, a lot of teeth up there. We're going to pipe a daisy with it, okay? Or some sort of a something. So I'm just going to start out here at the edge, let that kind of build up and come in. Essentially kind of think like a shell type shape, okay? So we're building that out there. Actually, let me come this way so it's over towards, let me scoot off a little bit here. There, can you guys see that better, hopefully? I have to stop and remind myself I'm working towards the camera for you. And don't always feel like you have to do everything, you know, super botanical looking. Have fun with some of this stuff. Okay? So, I grabbed a tip number 4. And I think I'm just going to put, I'll get back in there. There we go. Okay. Just going to put some little balls in the center here. Okay. So I'm basically just piping some little beads.
You had someone wanting to know what brand of tips you're running.
Honest to goodness, I can sit here and go through. In here, there you will find Wilton, you will find a Tico. I think I have a few PME that I'm using. There's probably some Deco Pack ones or Bakery Craft. I truly do. Okay, this is Bakery Craft. This one's a Tico. This is a Tico. Wilton. When I say get what you can get your hands on, I don't find a difference with these, you guys. I really don't. Just the main thing to worry about is learning your pressure control, okay? The main time I will say that your tips come into play is more so when you're doing fine piping, if you're doing like drop string work, any detail, if you're piping out the grids, like on cookies, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's a Hungarian type look thing, okay, where they have that really fine grid. Anything you're doing, if you're doing super fine lines and stuff, yes, I do find there's a big difference in the PME tips, and at that point, I recommend, if you're doing that kind of work, I totally recommend spend the money and get the nicer tips for that, okay? But these, I literally, I'm not, a tip is a tip, essentially, as far as these go, okay? I lost my train of thought. I had something else I was going to do with the rose tip.
You can do the sunflower.
Sunflower? Sure, we'll do sunflower. Alright, yellow.
Had a couple people ask for the sunflower.
I need the leaf tip for that. Oh, you guys are going to make me use that ugly leaf tip because it looks like one of the sunflowers. Alright, just a second. I got to get it down. Things I do for you guys. Just 1 second. Sunflower coming up. I got my leaf tips here. That's not them. That is them. Okay. So back when I was doing this all the time, I actually have 4 of these big cases full of tips. I enjoyed my piping. Okay. So, sunflower. Let's do big one. I think I'm going to start with big one. We might go down to the smaller one. No, we're going to start with 69. Okay. So, this is the other type of leaf tip, alright? These are the... Actually, I'll pipe a little bit with both of them here on some paper towel and show you the difference. Can I pick up a paper towel? That is the question of the day. There we go. Okay. So, let me show you on here real quick. We're not going to do it with green, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is a tip 70, okay? And these are the ones that probably a lot of, if you buy a kit of any sort, typically this is the one that's in there for your leaves, okay? So when you pipe with this, more often than not, when you stop pulling, that is the end that you get. Okay, but then this is your V-tip, okay, which we'll do along, pull that out, you get a point on there, okay. That was not me doing anything funny with it to make it do that. That is what happens, okay. And it is not, it's not a case of, oh, you're doing something wrong with your tip. Nothing like that. I don't want that great big tip, so actually, I think I'm just going to go ahead and start with a 67 on here. I'm going to test it on the paper towel, but that might be too small. Let's see. No, that'll work. Okay. All right. See, same tip, just a different size of it. But again, we're getting that goofy little bottom on there. Okay.
Okay, so from the top, the big one is what tip number on your paper towel?
This one was a tip 70. Let me make sure. Yep, that's a tip 70. Okay. This was a 350. Okay. And this one is a 67. So this is the same thing as the 70. It's just a smaller version of it. All right. That's what we're going to use for our sunflower. Can you grab me a small... Are the small paintbrushes still over there where I washed them? I'll show you how to clean these up with a paintbrush, or what they typically will show you in if you go take like a Wilton class or something. Okay, and can you grab me a little cup of water, please? So I got 2 liners on there. Whoops. Okay. So for a sunflower, move this here. There we go. All right, we got a lot. We got water there. So for the sunflower, you want to start in the center, okay? And again, if you want, you can mark just so you have a starting point. Don't ever feel, there's anything wrong with doing that. Just mark, and that's where you start, okay? But you want to pipe and stop and just keep going around. Now, I personally, I know this is a little bit, people laugh at me and think this is my OCD coming out stupid. I like going back and splitting everything like this. Okay? And then I'll go back and put another one there in between them. But that way I know everything's even. Okay? And split how I want it. So, as you can see, we've got all these little marks out there. You grab me the little shaker of powdered sugar? Please. Okay, so I put some water in here. You don't want this super wet, okay? But you can take your paintbrush and kind of manipulate it around to get your points. And like, you don't need a lot, you just want to move it. It's easier to do this too right away while that frosting is still a little bit soft, okay? So then you kind of move it. Alright? But this is truly, again, if you've ran into this, don't get frustrated and say, oh, I'm using that tip wrong. Because you are not, I promise you. This is how these tips always, it's what they do. But then you just have to go back and fix them. Okay? So on the next row, I'll show you how to fix them with some corn or powdered sugar. Okay? So then you go back in your next row, kind of going over top of those, and I'm not squeezing as hard so the petals are a little bit thinner. Alright? And if you see, I'm going right in between, move the water out of the way there. So I'm going essentially in between, I want my petal to come right there. So in between the 2 petals of the first layer, alright? Okay, so powdered sugar, Would you? Oh, sorry. Thank you. All right, if you're going to do this for your customers, wash your hands. All right, I washed mine before we got going, but these are just for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. You're gonna dip your hands. Put some on the table here. You want to get a little cornstarch or powdered sugar, okay? And then you go in and you basically pinch them together that way, instead of with the paintbrush, okay? Not a good way for me to let you see what I'm doing on the screen here. And I believe this typically is what they show still. I don't know. In a lot of cake classes, they show you to pinch these off with your fingers and stuff. Not a huge fan, but I'm showing you. So, there you go. I would always much rather take a paintbrush in there, clean them up. Okay? Glove back on here.
Got a couple people asking if this is the tip you would use if you were doing poinsettias.
Yes, it is. Envision this little bad boy in red.
Joan says you should have used a 352.
I know, Joan, I don't like these petals or these tips. But I'm being open-minded and sharing with people, so. Okay, here is a tip 350 on here. I'm just going to go pipe around the edges where I've got a little bit of the cupcakes showing. And I'm actually going to, see, just because Joni said I should, I'm going to put a 352 on, and I'm going to do another one of these with that, just so you can see the difference. I don't know if I have.
Someone wanted to know if you were doing a dahlia.
We're getting there.
Or
Well, esque. It will be a long, there's a 352 bigger one.
okay, I know I'm going to mispronounce this one, but a ranunculus?
Ranunculus? No.
Ranunculus?
Stop it with your silly self. Alright. I have the tip out to try. Honest to goodness, I've not done, just because of my whole left-handed thing. I really did. I thought about it. We'll see. That option might come out yet. I don't know. Alright, I know this is supposed to be black. I don't have black. Deal with the green in here. Okay? And this, I'm doing the grass tip, but I'm kind of pushing it down because I want kind of I want the texture of it, but I don't want them sticking way up or anything. Okay? So I'm just kind of pushing it back into itself a little bit before I pull the centers out. Poppy seeds work way cool for sunflower centers. Okay? If you're going to use those, I don't have any here to grab them and show you, but if you were going to use or to do poppy seeds for the center, or even black nonpareils or something, you would want to do those first. Okay? Do I have any nonpareils up there in the cupboard?
No.
Like behind the those plastic cups. I think I might have some nonpareils. Hang on, I'll show you. Oh my gosh, it's almost an hour already. No, nonpareils are tiny. Tiny, tiny. Look what he got me for nonpareils, you guys. Come on now. I gotta mess with you just a little bit. Where's my round? Where's my round?
Christmas.
Huh? Christmas color. Okay, we are having a Christmas colored center on these. That's okay. All right. So to put your center on, you want to do that first, okay? I'm just going to put these in the cap of this here, just to show you. So you're going to dunk that. But again, just imagine that you have some black poppy seeds or some black nonpareils, okay? But there you would have your center. So you want to pipe that, do that first, okay? If you want something like that for the center. You absolutely could pipe what we just did with the grass tip, okay? This, I'm going to do the same thing. This is a tip 352, okay? I'm just trying to go like super fast, so I don't have to keep you waiting. Then I'll show you the difference. All because Joni suggested it. And we like to do what Joni asked for. Because we like Joni, she's fun. Right, Joni? Is she still on?
I don't know if she's still.
Okay. So there, just very quick. You can see the difference. This is the 352, so this is the V. All right, the tip with the little V in it. Okay. Versus the 67 we used. So let me clean it up a little bit there, so you can see. Okay. So that's the 67 tip. Oh, I can't put the Christmas ones on the picture on Facebook. I'm going to have to go get some black nonpareils or something. I'll make another one before I do the picture. I can't have people looking at that going, what is she doing? Just now, I'll see if there's anything else I really want to show you before we will give the ranunculus thingamajobber a whirl here. Just for funsiekins. Oh, I still got to show the mama thing too. All right. You put that up. Thank you. Okay. Let's do the mum. I actually have two different ways I want to show you on mum. I'm going to do some more flowers with our purple, so we're going to do them in purple. All right. First one. This is a tip 79. All right. It is basically a half circle. Okay. So with that, I think I can do this mostly on the turntable for you. Oops, let's put a little mark on this one. Just because this is an easy one to get off whack out with. All right. This is not my favorite thing to sit here and pipe with. Not gonna lie. But I do it because a lot of people want to see this. I need to do this with my other hand. No, I can't do this with my other hand. Alright, I'll try and do it here closer to you guys. for piping. Okay, and you literally just sit here and squeeze these out. Okay. I'm gonna pick this up, see if I can just get this done quicker. But you sit here and you pipe and you pipe and you pipe and you keep pulling these out and you keep piping. And just keep going, and as you get closer into the center, you just shorten your tips or your petals up a little bit, okay? And you also start pulling them up towards you instead of flat a little bit more too, okay? And I'm just going to squeeze some down in the center there just to fill up my hole. And the reason I left that hole there, that was just my guide to work with, okay? But then as you hit the center, you're just doing very short little ones, and then hit a few times just to get that center filled in. Okay? See, if any of you know me, you know why I have a problem with this. I don't like all those little jagged edges. So I would sit here and go back and kind of fluff them up a little bit and try and fix them. Obviously, we can't be bothered with that for something that we're going to sell as food, because I could literally sit here and fart around with all those little tips for probably 20 minutes, puttering around with them. Nobody's got time for that.
Someone was asking what that tip was again.
That was tip 81. No, 79, I'm sorry. These are actually, it's so bizarre. These tips are opposite, like all the other tips. So like your 1 through 12 is your round tips. The smallest is the 1, the 12 is the biggest. Your star tips. Star 13 is this tiny one. Up to 22 is the big one. Okay? These are just opposite. 79 is your biggest one, and then 81 is your little tiny. I don't know who did that. They did it just to mess with us. That's all I've got. I don't understand it. There's no rhyme or reason, but that's what they did. Alright, where did my 102 go?
Someone's asking, when you go back and post photos, could you possibly add tip numbers to the photos?
I can try.
Alright.
I'm always game. Just now, I'll look and see if I've got a 10. I might send Eric out just to grab me one that's quicker. Give me a 101, Eric, please.
101?
Yes, 101. I'm sitting here looking at the 102, so I was going to show you another option for that. But I think my 102 is way too big. So we'll do a 101. I might even want a 101S, but we won't tell him that yet. We'll make him go back if I do. Okay. And then Mr. Ranunculus. Here, I'll get this ready. So, for the ranunculus attempt, it's going to be a tip 120, which is a curved rose petal, basically. Okay. Okay, we have a tip. You guys, I think he heard me and listened. Did you just hear him? He just was being a smart aleck and said 101 and 101S. Because he didn't want me to send him back out. He knew what I was going to do. All right, so in looking, I do think I'm actually going to use the 101S.
Hold on.
Okay, it's just thinner. And now, here's the entertaining part of this. The 101S, I'm just looking at. This is in a Tico. This is where I said you'll need to know your conversions. A Tico 264 is also a 101S. All right? So this is a bakery craft. This is an older one of a 101. All right? But this is the 101S, which is just a 101 small. So it's thinner and also just a little bit shorter. But as I said, this is an Tico 264.
Do you want to hold those back? Yep, there. Boom.
Where Wilton, Bakery Craft, Deco Pack, if you've got any old tips, they were all labeled 101 and then literally had the letter S on there. Okay? So, there's that for you. Alright, I don't know if I'm going to stand here and pipe this whole thing, just because it's going to take a little bit, but I want to show you. As an alternative to that, if you want to sit here and pipe these.
Someone had a question.
Yes.
When you're done with these, could you show putting them back in the plastic container without ruining the designs?
So, yes, they go back in the plastic container. I really recommend, though, go buy a pair of long tweezers. Like, they make tweezers that are like this, to put something like this in. Because, yes, I'm sure we've all done this, and that's why you're asking. But I usually, the one that I know is going to be the worst, okay, this is one that I would have issues with. I'm going to put that out in the center and just hang on to it with two hands. Alright? My rose definitely would be the same issue. That would probably, if I had a thing full of these, the roses I would put, like say I'd done 6 of those. Honestly, I would probably buy some extra containers if I had all roses that big, just because I know I would bump them.
And now getting
and
them
I would
back
just
out.
put them in every other slot. Okay? But if I did some like that and then, half swirl, half rose, all right? And typically, bear in mind, if you're selling your stuff, tell people too, yes, I can pipe you some roses. Those cost more because obviously they take a lot more time and stuff, and it's more frosting with them. Just say as an alternative, do you want maybe a third or a half of the cupcakes done fancy, and then the others we can do just a pipe swirl with some sprinkles to match those colors, okay? Always toss that option out if you're concerned with your time allotment too, or if your customer is balking. If you normally sell your cupcakes for $2 and they ask for these piped roses and you say, well, okay, those are $3 or $3.50 or whatever cost you may set for it. If your customers are like, oh, no, forget it, let them know it just costs more because of what you're asking for. Alternatively, we could do this or this or this, okay? And that's something, I used to do that a lot when people would send me a picture for a cake and say, how much is this for 30 people or whatever. I would say, well, what you're asking for is going to cost, say it was $100 or whatever. If that's not in your budget range, we could do this to downscale it, or if you even want to go down to a sheet cake and we could do a picture of it, but let them know just so they don't go, so they realize they're asking for something extreme, okay, and it's not you and your pricing, all right? That was always my biggest goal, that, okay, what you're asking for, it can't be done to feed less than 50 people if they only needed it for 10 or whatever. But I would say, okay, that cake can't be scaled down that much. If you really want that look of a cake, technically it feeds 50 people, here would be the price. if you want, here's some alternatives. I understand that you may not want all the extra cake, or that may be out of your budget range. Here's some other alternatives. But that way they know that you do have reasonable price stuff too. Otherwise, they may very well go get a sheet cake from Walmart or wherever and tell people, oh, I called so-and-so cake shop, or, that lady that does cakes over on such and such street. She wanted $400 for this cake for 10 people. Well, they're not going to turn around and tell other people that, oh, I was asking for this gigantic 3D sculpted thing that, yes, should be costing $400. So always give them some other options. And there, I'm done on my soapbox for pricing for the day. Okay, so this is 101S. I've got small end out. And this is just quick piping. I'm just doing zigzags back and forth. Okay? I'm literally back and forth. I'm just squeezing the whole time. Okay. So, first run. And then we'll do our next ones. I'm coming in a little bit. So if you can see the edge there, I came in probably a quarter inch, I guess. I'm staying in from that outside edge. And I know this isn't going to be super neat. I'm just trying to land already today. Sorry, guys. And don't worry, like, I don't know if you just noticed, I just did one tip, or one petal went in a little bit further than the others. Don't freak out and worry about that, okay? Mother Nature does not grow stuff super evenly. So it's okay if your stuff is not super duper even, okay? So we're getting in towards the center. And if you notice, I'm kind of standing my tip up a little bit more, almost straight up and down. Not quite, but pretty close. Okay? I'm just going to kind of mess around with it a little bit there to get top. Alright? So, I understand it's not completely the same look, but if you're not into sitting here pulling all these out, you can do the piping the other way like I just did. Okay? If you don't want it built up that high, I'm not going to do the whole thing like this, but just to show you.
So you were going on your tangent about packaging. Someone wanted to know what would be the best way.
Tangent about packaging?
What would be the best way to pack a cupcake if you were to ship it?
Stop it.
It'll stay intact.
No. Okay, it's going to be in shipping for at least 2 days. So it's probably going to be dry by the time it got there. But, like, on a very serious note, if you are going to try shipping cupcakes, you really, really need to consider icing them with fondant. Okay? Something like this, it's going to get ruined. There's just not a good way. I truly, truly believe if you mark fragile, perishable, with huge black arrows pointing up, this side up, I think that the shipping companies read that as football. Kick me. That's just me. Okay. Like I said, I wanted to show you another option here. If you want to not have that buildup of icing like we just did. Okay? Go around your edge when you're putting that on. I'm just going to do like half of this over here. Okay? So if you just do little short strokes and keep it, so there, just imagine we did the whole thing. Alright? So same theory, but just a little different look again. Okay? So it just depends on, that's what I'm saying. Don't sit here and feel like, oh, I gotta do what she said there, just in case. No, you really don't. Do what play around with them, and you can get tons of different looks. Okay? And I'll do a complete cupcake of that too. I just don't want to keep you guys waiting. Can you grab me, just open that up, give me a couple cupcakes out of it. I still have 2 more dozen cupcakes I could sit here and play with, guys. I'm not going to, I promise you. Good. Alright, so we're going to give this whole ranunculus thing a whirly jig. And no laughing, because this is not something I've done before. Alright, so we have tip 120, 120. Alright? And it is basically a curved rose petal. So it would be like a 104 with a curve to it. Okay? The ranunculus, if you're familiar with them, they look like basically 100 petals of a rose, but they're just kind of all leaning in towards the center. Alright? And I may very well be saying that name wrong, so sorry if I am. Alright, I'm going to put just a little bit of a mound there in the center to start working around. So, we are going... Alright, why did I get stuck? What did I do? Whoa! Why is you coming off there? I think I might have got some of my powdered sugar in there. Because now it doesn't want to spin. I have to figure this out. That's not okay. Oh, there is. There's some little, just a minute. Little beady things was in there. How did that get in there? That's just not even funny. Okay. Alright. So again, we are going to start in and do just a lot of like our little rose. I don't know if I can do this on here. So I'm just doing short petals. Okay. And just keep building up. I'm not going any higher. Turn it towards you a little bit. Okay. I'm not lifting up or anything. I'm just piping. The only thing I am just a little bit, I'm starting to, instead of curving it in, so like if this were this, instead of curving it in this way, I'm turning up, I don't know if I can pipe it this far backwards so you guys can see. I'm turning up a little bit straighter now. Okay, as I get out here towards the edge. Just so it looks like it's starting to open up a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Hey, not too shabby for my first whirly jig at that, right? Kind of looks like it. So there you go. The ranunculus thing. Alright. And, oh my gosh, we went way over. I am sorry about that, guys. Okay, any other questions before we sign off? Mr. Eric, do we have a winner? Let's see if indeed we do.
Yep. I'm gonna be completely honest. I lost my place where it was. Give me just a second.
All right, give Eric a second. He is finding our winner's name. And I'll go back through and read if you guys had any questions that we didn't get to. I'll go back and do my best to answer them afterwards. Okay?
Oh, here it is. Okay. It is a Jennifer Dillay. Dillay.
Jennifer, might be delay.
Yep.
Congratulations. Whip back over here and show her what she won in case she wasn't on when we first showed today's prize packet. Pardon my mess here. Whoops, that is not part of it. No turntable. There we go. So you've got a bunch of our custom cupcake liner, foil liners that I had all these colors made, and we have more coming. Woohoo! And then some of the tips that we used today as well. So, Jennifer, if you would please send me your mailing address, and I will get that shipped out to you. Or if you happen to be here local, you are welcome to stop by the store and pick it up as well, if you prefer to do that. Either way. And to everybody else, I thank you so much for joining. Oh, I can't be right there with that. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we will be back. I've been like in my mind contemplating this all night, trying to figure out, I'm going to make it work. On Friday, we are going to do gum paste flowers for Mother's Day. So, I will be making, I'm thinking a rose, some greenery, some quick filler flowers, but I'm going to go through and do that. I got a lot of prep between now and then, but we will get it done. I'm going to make it work because I thought, why not end Mother's Day week with some gum paste flowers? How cool will that be? Alrighty. So, thank you again for joining us, and I will have pictures up shortly. I'm going to repipe a couple of these so you guys can see a finished product, and we'll be back. Alright, have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.